What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today I wanted to sit down, do some makeup, and talk about pregnancy, my pregnancy. I asked you guys if you wanted to see a video because this is a makeup channel. I rarely talk about lots of personal details, but some of you guys had questions, were curious, just wanted to hear more. So if this is incredibly boring to you, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna have a favorites video up soon, hopefully within a few days. But for those of you who are curious, might be going through this, yourself, want to hear about somebody else's experience, let's get into it. So, oh wait, the intro, let's do that. Okay, all the products that I use, I probably won't mention most of anything that I use just because I'll be busy talking, so I'll be sure and list everything that I use down in the description bar below. Where to start? So let's start with the basics. I am 24 weeks. This is my first, and 24 weeks is about, I think it's about 6 months. I think one of the apps I have told me it was around 6 months. I think the whole going by week thing is just an elaborate ruse to disorient us so that we forget where we are in this whole process so we don't get frustrated. Because I'll tell you what, it's 2021. Why are we still gestating for 9, almost 10 months? Modern medicine, we need to lower the cook time on these kids. I'm not sure why it's taken so long these days. And not because I've had a hard pregnancy. Super, super fortunate that my symptoms have, really not been bad. It's low risk, all that kind of good stuff. I'm just impatient. I'm super impatient. What else? It's a boy. Second trimester, and it's a boy. We do know that. It's a boy who is due around mid-November. I think someone asked in the community post that I did either how I found out or how I told Andrew. Either way, kind of the same story. How I told Andrew and I kind of found out together, so it's really not an exciting story. But I guess the way I found out was kind of interesting. I don't know. That might be a generous word. Basically, I had been using the ovulation strips for a couple of months. In the scheme of things, it wasn't really maybe 2 months. It wasn't all that long. But, and for those of you who might not know, there are these ovulation strips are just these very thin, flimsy little paper strips that work just like a pregnancy test in terms of how you take them. But instead of measuring whether you're pregnant or not, they tell you whether you're ovulating or to what degree, how close you are. And the stronger or the bolder the color of the line on an ovulation strip, the closer you are, or you are actually ovulating, which is the right time to conceive. Now, I had been having some weird results with these strips, things I wasn't seeing the normal cyclical pattern that you typically would with them hormonally. And so I was just all sorts of confused. I was like, am I doing this? Can you even take these wrong? I was just very lost and kind of preparing myself for this to be a long process because, things like my hormones were still kind of getting back in the groove of things, and I wasn't quite sure what was happening until I had these really vivid dreams, inception level, is it a dream or is it not kind of vivid. Pretty simple though, luckily. They weren't anything too wild, but in one of them, what am I looking? Brows are what I'm looking for. The first one night I had a super vivid dream. It was very simple. I was pregnant. I was vividly just knew, it was a matter of fact, that I was pregnant. The next night I had a dream that a friend of mine texted me and all it said was, "It's a boy." And I was like, that is so strange. These are I don't normally dream this vividly. I don't really dream all that often. And for them to be this vivid, it was strange. And so I told Andrew, I was like, I just have this weird I should take a pregnancy test. I have this weird feeling. And he's like, okay, yeah, what, this is our first kid. I have no idea what it feels like to be pregnant. And so he's kind of like, okay, well, yeah, I mean, it might take a while, but sure, yeah, let's take a test. And it actually came out negative. So we were kind of like, well, okay, guess you're right. Guess it really, really wasn't anything. So we just kind of went on about our business. It was actually right around my birthday. It was actually on my birthday. And then within the span of literally 2 days, I was still testing with the ovulation strips, and all of a sudden with those, I got a really strong line, the boldest line I had ever gotten on one of those strips. And I thought, that's super puzzling. I've never had a test come out like that, and so I was looking, I was like, I guess that just means that hormone is high. But it kind of didn't make sense at the time. And so I Googled, which is both a blessing and a curse in general, right? And like deep on a forum somewhere on the interwebs, someone had asked that exact same question. Having this really strong reading on an ovulation test, but like doesn't kind of make sense. And the response someone had was, you're probably pregnant. That is often a sign that you are actually already pregnant. So I thought, I immediately put my phone down and I was like, I need to take another test. Granted, this was 2 days after I had just taken a pregnancy test that was negative. And so I did. And Andrew was right there with me the whole time. I'm like telling him as I'm reading all this stuff, like, wait a second, maybe I'm pregnant. So basically, he found out when I found out, which is when I took a pregnancy test and yelled from the other room, oh my God, I'm pregnant. So it was super romantic. And I have been dreaming a lot more, but the super vivid dreams have stopped, which in hindsight, kind of a bummer because this whole prediction thing that we have going on, I'm like, if we could just crank out like the winning Powerball numbers before the baby comes, that would be like ideal, you know? I don't know, maybe even like take the show on the road. Ooh, she's already a momager. Kidding, obviously. I mean, except for the Powerball numbers, I would totally take those. Okay, next up, let's talk symptoms. Like I said, I feel like I've been so fortunate during my pregnancy because my symptoms have not been that bad. Fatigue has been the worst one, and the worst of that subsided after the first trimester, which is like after 13 or 14 weeks of being pregnant. I was kind of prepared for the worst because my mom had, some nausea when she was pregnant with one, like either me or maybe even both me and my sister. My sister, though, she was actually formally diagnosed with extreme morning sickness throughout her entire pregnancy. So, and apparently that increases the odds that I will also experience that. So I was kind of hoping for the best, but planning for the worst. And much to, I'm sure, Madison's dismay, I did not actually experience any of those symptoms. It was just her, poor thing. But yeah, so fatigue, and a fatigue unlike I'd ever experienced before. One of those where it's like, it doesn't matter how many hours I sleep at night, I was feeling tired all day. And then come like 2 to 3 p.m., I'd hit a wall, like a lot of us do, right? That you're in the middle of the afternoon, you're like, it's too far between lunch and like the end of work or dinner that you're just, you're dragging, This was like that, but like I was a wind-up doll and like I physically could not go on anymore without taking like a 15-30 minute nap. And that was happening like almost every day. So that was really the worst of my symptoms. No, not even really any nausea, queasiness to speak of. I was also pretty out of breath, which was very bizarre because I was trying to work out. They say that staying active and stuff helps keep nausea and morning sickness at bay. I mean, is what they say. So I was trying really everything I could. And so I was having no problem running and still boxing, not sparring with anyone, but like a bag that doesn't hit back. And my doctor okayed it, just for the record. And doing that, I was fine. I would get overheated more easily, especially in Texas going into the summer at the time, and certainly now. Overheating was not surprising, but I was like, I could kind of keep up. But doing things like going up the stairs and standing up from the couch would wind me, just literally take it out of me, and I would be huffing and puffing. I'd be on the phone with Madison and she'd be like, are you okay? What are you doing? And I'd say, I just went up the stairs. That's it. And speaking of boxing, another recent kind of second trimester symptom that I've been experiencing, and it's pretty typical, is round ligament pain, which is basically like the ligaments in your lowermost abdomen. It feels like a tightening or like a sharp pain, which is caused by your stomach, stretching. And I was on a walk the first time I felt that, just this progressive, intensifying, sharp tightening in my abdomen area. And it happened to coincide, it was like 20 or 21 weeks, which is also when you're supposed to start feeling Braxton Hicks, which are basically like fake contractions your body's preparing for labor. And so I thought, is this a Braxton Hicks contraction? What is this? What is this now? I thought we were over these intense symptoms. But no, it was round ligament pain. And unlike so many things that it seems like you get told to walk it off, like literally. Nausea, make sure you stay active and go for walks. That can help with nausea. Fatigue, walk it off. Go for a walk, and that helps keep your energy. Like, I feel like so many ailments, so many things that ail you in pregnancy are often helped, or they say are helped, by walking. Not so much with round ligament pain. That actually makes it worse. But you can do things like warm compresses or warm baths, things like that. What's interesting though is that in order to like continue staying active, boxing is what has helped most with that. I have a bag. I actually talked about this in my 2020 favorites. I use Fight Camp. It's an app and they kind of walk you through workouts. And because, I'm doing them by myself, I can easily dial down the intensity as needed. And I guess maybe it's because I still kind of kickbox, but maybe because it's mostly upper body, it's still a really great cardio workout and you're strengthening your arms, but maybe it's less stress on the abdomen area. I don't know. I don't understand why I get more round ligament pain when I walk and virtually none when I box, but it's been nice to have an alternative way to stay fit and an indoor way to stay fit, because that's the other thing that I did not think about when it came to a summer pregnancy. Well, two things. One was trying to stay active outside since, overheating isn't good for anyone, but, especially when you're pregnant. And unless you want to get up at 6:30 a.m. to walk or run every day, it's a challenge in Texas. The other thing that I didn't think about was a summer without margaritas, man. Oh, that's brutal. That's been brutal. But luckily, margaritas are surprisingly easy to dupe in a non-alcoholic way. What I've started doing, our grocery store has a delicious spicy margarita mix that I then mix with lime Topo Chico. If you haven't tried the lime Topo Chico, folks, amazing. It's amazing. It's, in my opinion, the best Topo Chico. All other Topo Chicos are inferior, so mix a little bit of the lime with your margarita mix, and it is just so good, and it tastes like summer. And that's really it. And dry skin, which I've talked about at length here on the channel, having to change my skincare and makeup routine to accommodate not only dry skin coming from someone with combo skin, but still acne, still hormonal acne, which when I talked to my dermatologist the other day, she was like, yeah, that's kind of common. Sorry. Ooh, someone asked about any cravings or aversions, and I actually haven't had any strong cravings. I guess I always assumed that cravings would be like someone flipped a switch and all of a sudden you have to have pickles dipped in mayonnaise or something. Blech, nothing like that. I've been on a kick, a sweet cinnamon flavor kick, literally snacking on Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Cinnamon Life, this amazing cinnamon cookie dough from a brand called Dope that's meant to be eaten raw. It's pregnancy safe. It's meant to be eaten raw, but they have this, it's called Cinnamon. Oh, help me. It's too good. And really no real aversions. Again, super fortunate. I feel super duper fortunate in the pregnancy symptoms that I have and more specifically haven't experienced. Okay, now let's talk prep. What have we done to get ready for this baby? I will say I feel like we did a lot of work maybe sooner than we should. Specifically classes. I was very excited to take classes at the hospital that they're offered through the hospital that we're delivering at. So we've already taken a birthing class that explored, and remotely. I don't know if they offer these beforehand or maybe they were less popular, but due to COVID, everything is online now. And honestly, I kind of prefer the distance learning because you can go at your own pace. The birthing class we took was cool in that they followed a bunch of different families around through their birthing experience. And it was really just to give you an idea of the different kinds, whether it was unmedicated, varying degrees of medicated, full-on epidural, C-section, just kind of, and some people had unpredictable pregnancies. They might have gone in with a certain birth plan, learned what a birth plan was. But then as things progress, plans change and just kind of getting used to that concept. So that was helpful. We also took a breastfeeding course, which I feel like might have been, that's the one I most feel was probably too soon to do. We did both of these right at around 4.5 to 5 months. And I feel like by the time he gets here, it's going to be in one ear, out the other. What's breastfeeding? You know what I mean? So luckily there are some cheat sheets that we were able to download and keep. And we might be even able to access the course even after he's born. That seems most likely. But for now, it's one of those things where I felt very, proactive and prepared at the time. And now I'm not so confident I could tell you what I learned at all. Especially because it seems like it would be such a hands-on learning process, you know? I've also been reading a couple of books. One is from a woman named Emily Oster, who my friend directed me to on Instagram. She has an amazing Instagram if you want to go follow her, but she's also written some books all about data-driven decisions when you're parenting. The first one is called Expecting Better, and it's about pregnancy. And it's really about those things that you might hear inconsistent things depending on where you look, on the resources you look at, either online, from your doctor. You know, one person's doctor says one thing, yours says another. What's why? What's the why behind this? What are the risks behind this? And so she pores over the data, kind of explains it. Sometimes there's an absence of it, and that really stinks. Sometimes she's like, actually, you know, it's not so bad if you XYZ. The best example I can think of is coffee. When I first got pregnant, I was under the impression that I had to cut out coffee entirely. Which, okay, fine, okay. But then I saw that, well, no, maybe 1 to 2 cups a day is okay, you know? Which I was like, amazing. Mama needs the will to get out of bed in the morning, so that's fantastic. But then I started thinking, well, but a cup of Starbucks coffee who adds caffeine to their coffee is very different than like my home brewed coffee. So is it 1 to 2 cups of Starbucks? Is it 1 to 2? Like, how careful do I need to be? What are the implications if I do it, if I overdo it? You know, what should I just not? Because why risk it, you know? Her book goes through, you know, what are the risks? What have people seen? What is a reasonably safe threshold? And then from there, you get to make the decision that's right for you. And obviously, all of this is taken into account in addition with my doctor's expertise. Like, this is not discounting your doctor's expertise at all. But sometimes there are things that are just kind of left up to you where you're like, what is it? Is it right? Is it wrong? What do we do here? And so that has been a really nice, just supplementary resource to have when I have questions and maybe my mind wanders into anxious or paranoid territory where I'm like, am I doing this right? Am I already screwing it up? So I read that. Now I'm currently reading her book called Crib Sheet, which covers basically from birth to, I think, toddlerhood, I want to say. I don't know. I'm only through, like, currently in the breastfeeding section, and she talks about breastfeeding versus bottle fed exclusively versus formula and all, you know, as well as I think she covers sleep training and just sleeping and soothing techniques like that overall. So, I mean, again, like, I don't think any one book is absolute gospel. These are just things that, you know, resources that I've kind of reached for that others have found helpful. And yeah, I would say they're very interesting. 2 more books that I had checked out at the library, and then I pumped the brakes because I was like, you know, I'm still like 3.5 months out. Again, I'm worried that I'm going to read all of this, not absorb any of it, and then be kind of like back at square one when the kid's here. And I'll still be wondering, you know, what am I doing? But one of them, both of these were recommended, by the way, by Alexandria, who when I told her I was pregnant, she was like so incredibly supportive. She's been the sweetest, best person to lean on whenever I have questions. She's offered up so much because she also just had a baby recently, and so all of this is like fresh in her mind. She's been thank you so much, Alexandria. She's been so supportive. She recommended Baby Wise as well as Happiest Baby on the Block. So those are 2 that are in my to read list at my library. Oh, we also have started on the Nursery, which has and continues to be an adventure. So we decided on a forest theme, and I was team wallpaper simply for ease of putting it up. Andrew was team paint. And in order to get a forest, when you're painting, it requires stencils. You probably already know this if you follow me on Instagram. I've shared some like snippets of it, but basically, we have slightly textured walls, and I heard wallpaper is just an absolute pain to remove when you don't want it anymore, and so we ended up going the paint route. And I don't think Andrew really anticipated just how much work was going to be involved in stenciling 5 different tiny trees hundreds of times on this wall. It ended up turning out wonderfully, but it was not without its hiccups. Because the place that we got the stencils from is great. I can link those, I forget what it's called, down below, but they have a tutorial, and they're like, oh, we recommend you get spray adhesive to spray the back of the stencil so that you don't have any bleed through in those fine lines, and then a level that you can kind of clip to it to make sure all your trees are straight. Didn't have either of those when we started. One of us might have thought that we didn't need them, and so we didn't get them. Needless to say, we ended up getting them. They're an absolute must especially if you are stencil noobs like us. Once we got into it, we got on a roll. It really went fast. It ended up taking us 3 weeks. Once to wait on the adhesive and the level. The other because it was so hard when you're stenciling so many like that, and there's this color gradient that's also coming into play. It was kind of hard to see where it was going for the two of us who I don't think we consider either of ourselves creative people, and so it was really hard to see what the final vision for this thing was going to be. So we took a little break, came back to it with fresh eyes. We're like, yes, this is going to be great. Powered through it. It's an amazing looking wall. Forest is the theme. Now, we also picked out the nursery furniture, went to Nebraska Furniture Mart, which is basically a giant, it's an IKEA. It's an IKEA just with different kinds of furniture. And super stoked about it. Thought we were getting a very early start because we had heard about supply chain issues with furniture. And so went in June. I think we went in May, picked it in May, ended up ordering in June. Supposed to be delivered in August. However, just last week, I got a notification that no, your order has been delayed until December for a baby that's being born in November. So luckily, he's going to sleep in our room in a bassinet for a little bit. But, it is kind of a bummer that, we're still going to be setting up a nursery with a newborn. Especially when we thought we had been so proactive about going to get all of our stuff ordered. No. Here's your lesson. Order your furniture now, kids, because there are delays. That's all there is to it. We also, in a separate order, got a glider recliner sort of thing, also from Nebraska Furniture Mart. Very comfortable. I'm super stoked about it, but I am just kind of waiting for another email to come where they're like, sorry, you're not getting that until next March. Of course. So really the main thing left to do in the nursery is decor, but until I see how everything kind of looks in there, the tone of the furniture and the color of the chair, that once it all kind of comes together, then I can start thinking about other things that go on the walls and artwork or what. I don't know. So that is likely going to be put on major hold just until everything's in there, because I don't know. Like I said, Andrew and I are not creative, certainly not decorators, I wouldn't say. And so it's hard for either of us to really envision what that room is going to look like until some of the bigger pieces are in there. But for now, we really like how it looks, really like how it turned out, even though it was a labor of love. But that is it. Those are kind of all of the current details. No names really picked out. It's kind of hard. I had a long list of girls' names, and boy names were really hard for me and Andrew. And once we found out we were a boy, we were like, yay! We don't have any names. So the funny thing is, my niece's name is Bonnie, and so we initially we were calling him Babby. Long story, but basically it was an autocorrect accident in texting, and we just been like, oh, Babby. But then we realized my niece's name is Bonnie, and so we're like, he's Clyde. How cute is Clyde? And it's kind of growing on me. This is not, nothing official, but I was kind of like, oh, Clyde could kind of be cute. Who knows? I have no idea. It's probably better than TBD, baby TBD. It's Clyde. So that's it. That's all on me. That's all on Clyde. That's how we're doing. Thank you so much for watching this. If you stuck with me all the way through, I hope I hope this was enjoyable for you, whether you're expecting, not, you just looking for someone to keep you company as you do your makeup or clean the house or whatever. I hope I could be that for you. Thanks guys. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.